Hello, and welcome to this presentation. In this video, I will be demoing an iOS project that I've been working on for the past few months. I started this project to get more experience developing iOS apps programmatically. The storyboard is excellent for getting started with smaller projects, but I've found that I much prefer the flexibility and freedom gained from programmatic UIKit. As you can see, the name of my project is Footi. Footi is an iOS app that provides standing, fixture, and stat leader data for several top-flight soccer leagues. I'm very passionate about the sport and wanted to build something that I'd find personally useful, especially with the start of the 2023-24 season. Just a quick note, feel free to skip around. I will try to keep this presentation tight, and any time that you give me is greatly appreciated. Let's get this started. Before we dive into the standings view, I want to explain the data model first. For demo purposes, Footi is currently pulling static data from JSON files stored locally in its bundle. There are two reasons for this. One, requests to the API I'm using are expensive. And two, the 2022-23 season is over, and I wanted to simulate what my views look like when matches are actively being played. If you look at the bottom tab bar, you'll see three main views. The view that we're currently on is the standings view. This view shows the league table for whichever league you have selected. As you can see, we have the Premier League selected. This table displays each club and their respective positioning within the table based upon their stats, with the most important being points. You'll notice that there are two clubs currently in play, denoted by these in-play indicators. When clubs are in play, that means our table is live, meaning we can simulate a club's positioning within the table based upon how well they're doing in their match. If you look at Brighton, you'll notice that they have a +3 modifier on their total points because they're winning their match against Arsenal. This brings them above Tottenham and Aston Villa. However, this can change if Arsenal were to draw or win the match. Something you may have noticed is that we have a stat that's partially cut off, and that's because these stat views can be scrolled horizontally. This was challenging to implement, but I enjoy finding creative solutions to the limited screen real estate provided by mobile applications. Additionally, if you scroll down on the table view, you'll notice a refresh wheel. And if you keep scrolling, it'll highlight to let you know that you can let go and refresh the table. Before we move on to the fixtures view, let's talk about the league header that sits above our table. This header displays our currently selected league as well as a drop-down so that we can filter our view. For the standings view, if we select this filter drop-down, you'll notice that we can filter by season. So if we wanted to look at last season fixtures, we can click on that and display them. Moving on to the fixtures view, this view displays past, present, and upcoming fixtures for whichever league you have selected. By default, we're looking at today's fixtures. There were a couple that have previously been played, and of course one that's currently in play, Arsenal v Brighton. There's our goals, as well as the number of minutes played. This of course is static data, so if we try to refresh the view, we won't see that minute count increment. As with the standings view, we can filter. So let's look at our upcoming matches. There's one for tomorrow, as well as plenty more coming up. And that's the fixtures view. And finally, let's move on to the leaders view. This view displays the league's top performing players for a given category. As you can see, we're looking at our top goal scorers. Now, of course, as with the other two views, we can filter. So let's click that drop down and we can look at the players with most assists. To conclude this demo, I'd like to take a look at Footi's menu. Through the menu, we can select the league we'd like to display information for. As you can see, we currently have the Premier League selected, but if we wanted to look up information on the French League, we can certainly do so. As you can see, we have standing data, And of course, we can see fixture data as well as leader data. Additionally, through the menu, we can update our settings. There's only a few here, the most important being the default league. Through this setting, we can update which league displays when we first open the app. There are 2 additional settings here, but those are just for show at this point. And that's the demo. Thanks for joining. I greatly appreciate you sticking around. I had a lot of fun working on this project, and even more fun showing it off. I'll go ahead and link the GitHub repository to wherever I post this video. Feel free to take a look, clone it down, and play around with it yourself. Thanks again.